Welcome to episode 3 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author a little bit as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their book, pose a trivia question, and give away a book. I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Fantasy Adventure Series. Today, we welcome sci-fi author Susan Kaye Quinn as our guest. Susan is the author of the Singularity series, of which the newly released The Legacy Human is the first book. She has also authored the best-selling Mind Jack trilogy, the Debt Collector serial, as well as other speculative fiction novels and short stories. Her work has appeared in several anthologies and has been optioned for virtual reality by Immersive Entertainment. Former rocket scientist, now she invents mind powers, dabbles in steampunk, and dreams of the singularity. Mostly, she sits around in her PJs in awe that she gets to write full-time. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. And I actually put on clothes for you today, so it's a big deal for me. No pajamas.
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate that. What will you be giving away?
I'm going to give away a signed hardback copy of The Legacy Human, my new book.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy to send that out because I like to get it in readers' hot little hands.
Absolutely. No, that's great. So in order to win, remember, all you need to do is, when you're done watching this episode, please leave a comment in the boxes below. That's all it takes. But please bear in mind, liking this isn't going to enter you into the contest. So make sure you leave a comment. You have a favorite quote. What is that? And if you would, tell us why it's a favorite.
All right. One of my favorites says, "Go where the pleasure is, go where the pain is." And it's a quote from Anne Rice. And I think of that, of course, in terms of writing. You want to go where the pleasure is, where you enjoy, where you live and get excited about your writing. And I do that a ton. I'm running off into things that I think are geeky and fun and intriguing and excite my brain. But there's also the part of go where the pain is. And I think that's really important for authors. Today, I'm in a lot of pain because I'm trying to start book 2. And it's being very painful to me because I'm my doubts and I'm having my fears that this book will be the first book. And, you know, things that are topics that writers might fear to tackle. And I think you really have to go there because that stuff that you fear really is the thing you need to be writing. It's like the signal that tells you this is important. And I really respect that and believe that, so I'm often seeking out the things that will be the most painful. And so sometimes I'm like, what kind of a crazy person am I that I'm seeking these pleasureful and painful things? But it's part of what makes writing so addictive to me.
You'll be reading from The Legacy Human, the Singularity Book One, which you just published at the beginning of March. And it already enjoys a 4.9 out of 5 rating on 60 reviews in less than a month. That is just amazing.
Yeah, I'm kind of flabbergasted by the response it's getting, but I love it, of course. And I love even more what the reviewers are actually saying in the reviews. You know, how it's making them think about immortality and the singularity and robots and humans and our souls, and I mean, like, all these great topics that are so you know, contemporary. They're part of what the world is grappling with right now, our technology and ourselves. And I think that's why it's resonating with people, and I just love to see that, you know. So I get busy in writing the second book, but here's the first book. I think I showed it before. But there's Eli. He's the character of this is chapter 1, and it's from the perspective of Eli. Okay. I want to ascend so badly I can taste it. It's bitter and metallic, like the acrylic paint spread before me. It's beautiful and beckoning and untouchable, like the shimmering rose skin of my patron, Lenora, who hovers over my work, tasting it in her own way. Her fingertips barely graze the paint, sensing its color and texture and scent in a way that is utterly inhuman. Because she's not human, not anymore. She's ascended, vastly more intelligent, compassionate, and enlightened than any human could be without the procedure. I'm just one of those remnants of humanity the Ascenders left behind long ago. Lenora leans in toward the painting in that sudden kind of motion Ascenders sometimes have. Her cascade of red curls brushes my cheek and raises goosebumps on my arms. I hold absolutely still. This is the closest she'll come to touching me. Anything more would be wrong. Ascenders and legacy humans don't do that sort of thing, at least not legally. I tell myself the instant full-body alert is just because I'm a 17-year-old guy who's definitely straight. Anything vaguely female would get this response. But it doesn't help that Lenora's body is pure fantasy. Sculpted cheeks, curves that irresistibly draw my gaze, lips that beg for me to draw each perfectly rounded part. The red curls have to be synthetic. Ascenders don't have hair, but their softness still heats my cheek. There's plenty to desire in the body form she's wearing now, but lust is a pale reflection of the thick, complicated feelings I have for her. Feelings no legacy should have, and no decent Ascender would return. It's wrong to want her, or really just delusional. But my fingers ache with the need to touch her just once. She's close enough that I easily could, if only ascendants were equally within reach. Once again, I taste the bitter nearness and yet absolute unreachability of her, of ascending, of everything that means anything at all. Lenora leans back, her hair no longer touching me. It breaks the spell. It's lovely, Elijah. She always uses my full name, just like my mother, which is disturbing enough, but it also reminds me that Lenora was born long before any human now alive. I like it, but you can do better. I fight hard to keep my disappointment from showing, which is ridiculous because I need her to hate the painting, or at least dislike it enough that she'll let me keep it. I won't tell her I'm selling it. Black market medicines aren't cheap, and those are the only kind my mother can get now. Yet I can't help wanting Lenora to love my work anyway. I search the delicate palette of her skin for some hint of what she truly feels. Her cheeks are currently the color of a white rose blushing pink, and the tiny flashes of silver dart just below the surface, making them glisten. That means something, but learning to read Lenora's emotional state is the kind of color study I could spend an eternity trying to master. I think the rose means she's relaxed, yet excited, but the silver flashes, I just don't know. I was just messing around with some color. I lie, swinging my gaze to the carefully blended shades of green in front of us. I went through a dozen canvases before I could capture the spectrum of the rainforest in just the right balance. Good enough to be worth something on ArtNet, but not so good that she would want to keep it. But she's right, of course. I can do better. A lot better. Fantastically, inspiringly better. Only I can't control when that creative madness strikes. It's more like possession. I don't remember it afterward. I just find the result smeared in front of me. Madness rendered in paint. Most people would call that kind of blackout a mental problem, not a gift. But to Lenora, it's the entire reason that she became my patron almost 2 years ago. I'll do better next time, I say, knowing I can't guarantee any such thing. Good enough?
That works, absolutely. No, that's it's. I love the way you write because it truly does draw you in. I mean, so I hadn't read any of that book yet, but even just from what you said or you read, I'm like, wow, that I absolutely sign me up.
You're sucked in. That's great. That's what I want to hear.
Yes. Well, I mean, because what it does is it poses the question of, okay, so where did he come from? Why is he in this situation? It's like, why? It sounds like he's an artist of some sort, but clearly he's more human than she is, and so then it's the interplay between those two, and yeah, so it sounds fascinating to me. So, yes.
Thank you. I hope that it does draw people in. I mean, it's very much Eli's story. So we start very deep in his conflict and his desire. The very first line is, I want to ascend so badly, I can taste it. And that is his, like in one sentence, that is really what his story is about. He's this human, and the Ascenders are all these super intelligent human machine hybrids that have left humanity behind. And they're like gods on earth, and he wants that life. He wants to be one of them. And when I first started the idea of this story, when I first had the idea of the story, I thought of it as a reverse Pinocchio story. He's the boy who wants to be a machine.
Yeah.
So it brings into question all the ideas of what does that mean, and what are you gaining by doing that in this world that we've constructed in the future.
Yeah.
I think that issue, that sort of core thing of, what makes us human, and what makes, if we were to have this enhanced intelligence that, and leave our physical bodies behind and have some sort of robotic, perpetually living forever thing, what do you give up when you do that, if anything? I think there's a lot of people like, oh, well, you wouldn't have emotions and you wouldn't be compassionate because you'd be like a computer. And it's like, no, the Ascenders have all of that and more. They really are better than us.
Yeah.
And if that's true, then, why wouldn't you be Eli who wants to have that? And so it's so much about his story and finding out who he truly is.
Emblazon is a collection of authors, some indie, some traditionally published, who strive to produce top-notch literature for kids. Their audiences range from 5th grade to young adult, but they have a particular focus on ages 11 to 14. They call them tweens. Their main objective is to help teachers, librarians, and parents connect tweens to excellent literature. They also hope their experiences prompt other writers to emblazon their own stories. Their 23 authors have created over 70 content-appropriate books, whether fantasy, action and adventure, science fiction, mystery, humor, contemporary, or historical. Emblazoners has a host of books and series to captivate your tween. If you're a librarian or teacher, you'll be particularly interested to know they have a free catalog for you to download that includes Lexile scores and mark files, making your job easy. Visit amzn.to to view all their quality offerings.
You also have a trivia question for us. What is that?
Is in the Legacy Human, the main character Eli goes to the Creative Olympics. And so the question is, what category is he competing in? And what is his thing that he does in the Creative Olympics?
Be sure to tune in next episode for the answer to that trivia question.
My trivia question was, what is Za from the Dragoneer Saga's full name? Her full name is Zarellion. Z-A-H-R-E-L-L-I-O-N. Zarellion.
Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with us?
I appreciate people listening, and I hope they will go out and check out the books. I've got a website, SusanKayeQuinn.com, that has all my books. I have a lot of information on there for people who are writers as well. So if you're a writer, there's a tab for writers about publishing and writing and all sorts of information. Oh, and I also have a few free books, so if you want to sample my work, you can download those and give them a whirl and see if they're the kind of thing you like. And all that can be found on my website.
Well, I hope you've all enjoyed getting to know Susan Kaye Quinn just a little bit. Links to all her work are in the notes below, so please do take advantage of those links. I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure. The first book in the series, the eBook, is free. Click on the link below, and you can download a free copy. I'd also count it an honor if you would leave a review after you've read it. Our guest for next episode is Leah London, so please make sure you tune in for that. Thank you all for listening.